Welcome, I'm Malcolm Gallagher, and you're watching the BVTV network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. Now, the world may have shrunk over the previous years with technology and travel, especially leading the way. But what has also happened with the COVID pandemic is that it's altered, never to go back, and with the requirement of new skills for today's leaders. The fast need to react to COVID illustrates one of those skills, and that is speed. My guest today is an expert in this subject and is passionate in his belief that today's leaders need to understand and embrace speed. He's the author of the well-titled book, the appropriately titled book, Speed Matters. It certainly does. So let's say hello to Dr. Raman Attri. Hello, Raman.
Hi, Malcolm. It's my pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me there.
It's welcome. Now, you are in Singapore, aren't you? So it must be nearly tomorrow for you. We're only
almost tomorrow. It's 11 p.m. in the night. I am up still running. So thank you.
Right. Thank you very much indeed for staying up for us. Raman, I empathize so much. With your speed thinking. Words like agile, adaptable, they also link in. So I'm delighted that you kindly agreed to be our today's leader channel guest. Viewers and listeners, my talk with Raman will be in my usual three parts. In part one, I want to ask him the big why. Why does speed matter? And what may be the consequences if a company, and especially its leadership, don't improve their speed ability? In part two, I'll ask him what can come from efficient, and I mean efficient, embedding of speed, including any areas that go wrong in such embedding. And in part three, I'm asking him how Raman's book helps you create your own path to speed. And do watch out, because I've got a free gift from Raman to tell you about as we get into the interview. But first, Raman, can you briefly tell us who is Dr. Raman Attri and what prompted you, to write Speed Matters?
All right. Malcolm, thank you so much for having me at your show. My name is Raman. By training, I'm an engineer and a technology scientist. But at one point, I actually switched career and went into mainstream training and learning domain. So currently, I am a training thought leader at a Fortune 500 company. So I work on designing learning programs like helping workforce learn complex skills at an accelerator rate. And in parallel, my major work is being a performance scientist and a business researcher. I'm considered a global authority on speed in learning and performance. I have conducted research for about 2 decades. I hold 2 doctorates, and I have written about 15 books on this particular topic. So my main specialization is to provide executives and business owners with science-based strategies on how they can reorient themselves, their teams, and their organization with a speed-enabling ecosystem and culture. So that's my whole life, kind of revolves around speed. So it's a kind of thing. I got obsessed with speed because fundamentally I was disabled. In childhood, I lost my ability to walk. So that was the point when I got obsessed with trying to walk faster in something else. And that's something else I found from a learning performance and in overall corporate thing, how we can help people move faster. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Yeah, wow. You have 15 books. No wonder you need speed. That's a heck of a lot of writing, isn't it?
I think before I preach speed to other people, I definitely have to demonstrate it.
Yes.
So that demonstration obviously comes 15 books. And as I said, I got 2 doctorates in this area. I also have 100 plus international and educational credential. So I kind of deeply went into speed, as you can say.
Yes. But it is so important. So let's get into part one, the big why. Why does speed matter? And what may be the consequences if a company, and especially its leadership, doesn't improve speedability? But the first part of this part, can you tell us what you mean by speed in the context of business in this interview?
Thank you, Malcolm. I'm glad that you asked me to set the context first. A large majority of leaders today, they see speed as getting there first. In that sense, they set very aggressive timelines, insist on faster task execution or project completion. For a short while, it gives the impression as if they are moving fast. as if they are responding to customer needs quickly, as if they are well prepared to produce faster. This might have some immediate wins, no doubt, but the workforce constantly finds itself in a race to beat the timelines. They don't have enough time to learn and master. So their learning is a sort of half cooked,
Yeah.
And then there are good chances with that half cooked learning. If you're not master yet, your outcomes are going to have some kind of rework. And when you go back and do the rework, it actually elongate effective time to closure.
Yeah.
So their effective speed then becomes lower. This kind of speed does not lead to long-term competitive advantage. Instead, the speed I'm talking about is not getting there first, but getting to a point faster where they can deliver first time right outcome. So my version is, let's pull that point earlier in time for our employees, our managers and leaders. We're talking about reaching to that point of proficiency where they deliver first time right service or product consistently, reliably, repeatably across the spectrum of customers, situations, projects. So let me give you an example with your permission to clarify the meaning of what speed we're talking about. Once in a while, you might have come across, some seriously good checkout clerks in large stores like Walmart.
Yeah.
So what you notice is that while they are talking to you, you don't even realize that they have completed the transaction. Sometimes they don't even bother to look at the barcode. They're so proficient. They make no error. But the transaction per customer is so fast. Still, they don't come across in any kind of mad rush. So as a customer, chances are that you would walk out pretty pleased with the overall experience. So the speed I advocate is not the speed of doing things fast, but the speed of developing our employees, workforce, leader to that level of fluidity. So once we have speed up that path, they reach there, their task execution is automatically faster, but it is without any additional pressure. I hope I clarified that overall context. What kind of speed?
Superb. Yeah. I'm really glad you did that as well, Raman, because it just starts to resonate with me how many times I've seen people doing things at speed and then having to do it again because they've messed it up because they've done it too fast, isn't it? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So why does speed matter then to a business?
Yeah. Okay. So let me set the stage for speed as a competitive advantage. So we have seen that during pandemic, our employees struggle to learn new skills. For some of them, it was so difficult to come up to speed on new technologies. I can tell you as simple as operating this Zoom software. The reason is that employees and leaders have been groomed for decades how to complete the task faster, but they have not been groomed how to learn and master skills faster. I want to share a research with you. Deloitte did this in some 2017 with 10,000 executives. What they found at that time is that average employees in various professions must redevelop their skills every 12 months to 18 months. So during pandemic, that figure has gone down to perhaps 6 months or even lesser.
Yeah.
I mean, we have seen that. And my research showed one thing, that time to attain mastery in most of the skills is very long. For example, a semicon or communication equipment engineer, that he reaches the level of mastery in about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So now we got catch 22 situation. Shelf life of the skills is too short, but the time to mastery is too long.
Right.
So, this is very kind of very challenging situation. I also want to share one more thing. I think you already might have heard about that, Malcolm. The time to market for new products and services, that's also squeezing drastically now. About a decade ago, it used to be 3 years, but now it is roughly about 3 months. Customer want faster innovation, right? You see, on one side, we're talking about very shorter shelf life of skill. Other side, we're talking about employees having to work on something entirely new every 3 months. But then we also have this thing. They take about a year to become master in those skills. So if we don't give that time, your product or services are going to be half-baked. So how organizations are going to stay competitive in this kind of dynamics? So I think only way possible is to shorten that time to proficiency, the time employees take from the date of hire in any role to reach to that level of mastery. So get them to become the master faster. That's the mantra. That's why I think speed matters. How more than now, I mean more than ever, it's more relevant in today's competitive market. And in fact, in pandemic, many organizations you have seen that they have lost substantial market share. So
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
right, so in the
Yeah.
post-pandemic, they're going to be having challenge. I mean, how do they recover back? How they go ahead in the market to be able to produce better and faster than their competitor? So the speed they need is first time right speed because they don't have time to rework.
Mm.
Right. So let me pause here if you have a follow-on question on what I just shared with you.
Yeah, that is brilliant thinking, Raman, because my mind is buzzing about that. Because obviously, I think there's lots of companies who haven't even started to gather speed for recovery yet, and they're suddenly going to find that they're going to hit a dead end, aren't they? Ooh, dear me. Raman, before we move to part two, let me just remind everyone of your URL, your website address, which is all the W's, speed to proficiency.com. Viewers, obviously, you can see it on the screen behind me, but let me spell that out for listeners. And it is all the W's, speed to, and that's TO, proficiency.com, speed to proficiency.com. And Dr. Raman's book is called Speed Matters. Now, Raman has got a special free gift for you. It's his Speed Enabling Proficiency Ecosystem document. Oh, I got that one out, didn't I? All right. Now you can download it by scanning the QR code that is on the screen now. And I'll hold that for a few seconds. Just take a deep breath in, Raman, while we hold that. But you remember, viewers and listeners, you can always replay if we move on. And I'll also add it to the end of the video. Or you can take down the bit.ly link that I'm putting down below, and that will come along the lower third of the screen, and you'll be able to do it. Now, for listeners, let me just read that out. Are you ready, listeners? You all should know to always have a pencil ready if you're going to be watching a BVTV program. And here we go. HTTPS, HTTPS // You got that bit so far? bit.ly, bit.ly / speed by Raman. And you can always check back into us and I'll send me an email if you get any difficulties on that. But it is a really, really well worth down that. It's, so far, hopefully Raman's made you think. And when you download that free gift he's given you, that will make you think even more and help you create your own path to speed. Now, my next part with Raman, part two. What can come, Raman, from efficient, and I mean efficient, embedding of speed? What are the big benefits? But also, what are the areas that go wrong in such embedding?
Great question, Malcolm. I think there are 2-3 aspects to this question. Let me break it down for you. I think the first thing is, if we don't do anything, what are the consequences if we're going to go slow? And then okay, if we do something, are we going to get some different kind of benefits? And then speed is such a common sense thing, but things do not always go right. There are a lot of bottlenecks that the leaders are going to face. So let me break it down for you for the consequences so that we set the context for benefit, why we should really do it. So I want to make sure that your leaders who are listening to this show, they have a compelling case to really move forward with the speed. So I'm going to give you an example from the project case from my research. One large medical financial institution, they had a call center agents. Their job was to sell financial products over to the clients over the phone. So they found that the time to proficiency of their agents was 1 year. Quite a lot. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. But again, it's a financial institution. They have range of financial products they need to sell, and they got a regulatory component. I mean, they can't put their agent onto the phone unless they pass all those layers of exams and qualifications, right? So they have to work within those legal constraints as well. So it takes time. So 1 year is quite reasonable. The problem is that employee is waiting for 1 year before they hear those encouraging words from their managers that, okay, now you're ready to contribute productively. That
Mm.
simply delays giving the sense of achievement to that individual. Engagement and retention is directly related to how soon people feel valued or contributing to the organization. So the result is that despite all those glorified engagement surveys and actions, half of the agent won't even wait till end of the year. They don't get sense of achievement, they will leave. So now
Mm.
imagine 50% turnaround in that organization. Now you hire a new set of people, then you cycle back again, and executives, they keep chasing the wrong metrics, which is time to hire or retention or engagement score. The real problem never goes away.
Yeah.
But then again, during first year, even if people, decide to stay, they take 1 year to come up to speed. So there is investment in training, coaching, supervision while they're still on that journey. So that organization was losing millions of dollars of sales opportunities in that time. And there is also a risk losing customer satisfaction if you happen to decide, okay, my guy is not ready, but I'm going to put anyway onto the actual cause. And guess what? If they make errors, it invites legal issues. And
Mm.
customer don't wait, right?
No.
Customer don't wait. They'll go somewhere else. So it's just a lost revenue. So it's a two-edged sword, I would say. So at an individual level, 1 year doesn't sound too bad. But there is a problem. Problem is they had 10,000 agents. So now you have to multiply it to become 10,000 person years problem.
Mm.
It's worrisome, isn't it? But
Yeah.
the executives are never told problem that way.
Wow.
So if you,
What was their answer there then? What's their answer?
okay, that answer is where I'm going to say what goes wrong, because managers typically keep telling executive all those metrics like time to hire, turnaround percentage, and all those kind of metrics. So executives are logically is going to say, okay, all right, go ahead and hire more people.
Mm.
And the real problem, nobody told them that we are talking about 10,000 person year of problem. The moment the problem is defined that way, now it needs a different solution. You know that you are immensely slow compared to the market. You are spending 10,000 person a year just sitting there, right?
Mm.
So that's the kind of thought process I want to bring to the leaders, that you gotta need to think differently, because there are financial impact, there are non-financial impact of such a long period. When you aggregate over all the employees, those are serving a particular role.
Yeah. And also I think, we've got a different generation of workforce coming through, haven't we? Generation X, millennials, they don't want to wait. They want things to happen quickly, don't they? And they want
Yeah,
results. We want results quickly.
yeah.
Whereas us older baby boomers, are not you, me, older baby boomer like me, I'm quite happy just for it to puddle along. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that's right, that's right.
but it's hard for these leaders to understand this this urgency that this new workforce is bringing to the marketplace, is it not?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a challenge. I think there's a part of this one also. Leaders need to understand that what do I'm going to gain out of this one if I shorten this time? So
Mm.
the benefits has never been communicated to them. I mean, one obvious benefit is that it's going to save us dollars, but that's not it. We just talked about sense of achievement.
Yes.
You cannot equate that engagement, sense of achievement, feel good feeling of employees to any dollars.
Mm. No.
So there are lots of benefit which I think executive needs to be told, and that's what is in my book Speed Matter. But then there is I want to talk about some of the benefits, and maybe I make a business case for that. So I'm going to take another sales example from my project cases, and it was an organization producing high tech communication equipment like enterprise infrastructure and servers. So they had a highly qualified sales engineer. Part of their job was to negotiate with the upper management, decision makers, because these were expensive multi-million dollar capital hardware we're talking about. So
Mm.
fundamentally, they needed far higher level skills than any other sales role. So it also means that they would spend a lot of time understanding technological product, ecosystem, connection, relationship, company policies, and things like that. So In that particular case, on an average, an engineer took about 24 weeks to become proficient at that level. 24 weeks is half a year.
Mm.
So imagine that exact problem happened during COVID when
Yeah.
clients were demanding faster upgrade of their infrastructure because they needed internet to support employees for work from home or remotely.
Mm.
This company would have been out of business simply because to scale up, they had to wait 24 weeks for a new sales engineer to come up to speed. So instead, they couldn't afford it. So they instituted what they call speed enabling ecosystem, the document which we just shared with the audience. So they shortened the time to proficiency to 12 weeks for new hires. And for seasoned sales engineer, they
Wow.
were able to shorten it to 6 weeks. So end result is massive. They
Yeah.
achieved $1.8 million additional net profit per
Oh,
seller
right.
over and about what they used to get otherwise.
Yes. Yeah.
And another thing they found is that compared to the population achieving quota each quarter earlier, now they had 26% more engineers achieving that quota. So that's the kind of massive benefit. I mean, they would wipe clean the competition by a large margin, unless the competition is equally smart to invest in the speedier
Mm.
proficiency of their engineers. So this company would have the head start all the way. Eventually, in just like any other situation, competition will wake up and they will
Yeah.
try to catch up, but it will be a long distance to cover. And they
Mm.
would need even more speed, faster speed to catch up. So that's why, speed of employee proficiency is such a devastating competitive weapon. So
Yeah.
part of this one is not just money. It's not just money by cutting the time out. There is a lot of other things like engagement, higher retention, higher productivity, revenue, market share, customer satisfaction, a lot of other benefit. And interesting thing is the population, the employees you have, they have now superior skills. They feel belong, they feel valued, and they can stay with the company for longer time.
Yeah. And I would guess also the important thing is that company would feel energized. The people in the company would feel energized. If it takes too long to do something, you lose the energy, don't you? It's sort of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
energies. My
Yeah.
final part with Raman is to ask how Raman's book, Speed Matters, helps you create your own path to speed. After all, strategy is no good without execution. So how do we do it?
Yeah, that's right. So I have, kind of quite many strategies I mentioned in that book about how you can go right about this one. Fundamentally, my book is about for top leadership. I have written it for executive because I think at this point of time, education is very important for executive to understand that how they're going to go about the whole process of bringing speed, but then again the right kind of speed. After the pandemic, they're going to need to stay ahead of the market. And there is no escape from the other than mastering the art and speed of, science of speed. So in my book, as you know, that I have approached 70 world-class organizations. So the wisdom I have drawn in the book is best of the best.
Right.
And these were the organizations, for whom speed actually mattered. And they position speed at the forefront as a competitive weapon for their business. And
Mm.
that's the whole thinking process I have actually covered. But for your audience, I would like to kind of share out of the book 3 strategies,
Right.
which I can share with the leaders. In fact, I'm writing another book called Get There Faster.
Right.
And in in that book, I am sharing 24 strategies which came from all these organizations. 24 is of course a lot, but again, science is pretty broad. It takes time to build that kind of science. But I'm going to share the 3 right now. I think that's going to be high value for your audience. The number one strategy is that you have to have metrics to measure the speed.
Mm-hmm.
The key question is: are you going too slow compared to the market? Or you are going fast? Of course, chances are very little that you're going faster, but you need to answer this question: how slow we are going compared to the market. I've seen that many leaders, they overuse this term called accelerate, like accelerate digital transformation, accelerate performance, accelerate learning, accelerate processing, for so many things, right? But how do we accelerate if we don't know our current speed?
Mm. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Once we know it, and if we don't cut the time out of the journey, between point A and B, we don't accelerate.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no point using those terms unless we have a mechanism to measure baseline and then notch up the speed.
Yeah.
And it's very ironic, Malcolm, because for every single technology out there gives the timestamp. Still, we lack a good mechanism or instrumentation to measure speed. Not many people, not many leaders have paid attention to this lack simply because their focus is task execution. I was talking about that 10,000-person year problem. CEOs are never told the metrics that way. Manager tell them other metrics like time to sales, call duration, number of cold call makes, customer call rating score. Of course, those are operational metrics, but strategic metrics is what we call time to proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to communicate that metric. We need to establish that metric. So that's the only metrics that you need to build in your organization to measure speed.
Brilliant.
And for that, obviously, you have to define every role's proficiency, what it feels like, smells like, looks like. And then you can kind of define that. Let's baseline the time. Let's kind of over our next several quarter measure it. Let's see that can we shorten it by 20%, 30%. So in my research, the organizations were able to squeeze it down to 80%. But that doesn't happen unless we measure it.
Brilliant.
So right now, most managers don't even know that how much is the time to proficiency in their role. So that was the first strategy.
Yeah. Okay.
My second strategy is, if you're going to build these metrics in your organization, you need to focus on the entire journey, not the events or activities. For example, when you go to a burger joint or a sandwich restaurant, you order a nice burger. When it comes, you don't care about how those guys executed each step to make it. You don't care how precisely they cut the lettuce or how beautifully they place the tomato on top of the patty. Those are activities. Being good on those activities has no relevance to your experience of getting a delicious burger. So same way, focus on the total journey of your employees, your manager, your leaders, and focus on their ability to produce outcomes proficiently.
Yes.
And provide them the intervention, support, coaching, assessment to achieve those outcomes. Not the mastery of each step to achieve those outcomes, but the mastery of the outcomes. Assess them for those outcomes that matter. Don't assess them on step, task, events. So in my research, there was one organization, their engineers were taking about 53 weeks to become master. And then they realized that half of the skills they have been teaching them and asking them to master, those didn't even happen for 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
But there's no point teaching them every single thing, every step of the way, if it is not going to happen. So I think that kind of process, that thought process is very necessary to focus on the outcome and what is necessary for employees to master. Not every single skill they're going to need.
Fascinating. And your third strategy?
My third strategy is what the document we're going to give, what I call as create the speed enabling ecosystem. So let me elaborate a little bit on this. There was one software company in the US. They hired 1,800 offshore software engineers in Thailand. But they faced the challenge that their European and US software engineer, they didn't support anyhow because they were kind of at a risk of losing their own job. So the whole organization couldn't rely on training. Instead, the company employed speed enabling the ecosystem to shorten time to proficiency of employees down to several months, save them 45,000 hours worth of time.
Wow.
Right. So it's a huge saving. I mean, on one side, you don't have training, but the moment you build this ecosystem, you save 45,000 worth of hours and you can translate that into money. So the key part of the ecosystem was to create a group of star performers and then have them work with the new hires. Simple strategy, very simple strategy, but it works better than any training to speed up the employees. So you see, most of the employees, they don't work in isolation. They work with the others. When there is a problem, they seek help from immediate peers. They need coaching sometime. They need very targeted training for specific skill. Sometimes they simply need to seek advice and reuse what's already available in the company. Sometimes they just need automation by a good technology. They don't really need to learn things. The technology can do it better.
Yeah.
So while they're going through all this, they need to work on assignment and project that matter to produce the outcome, as I said, not simply do this task, do that task. So that means managers need to provide them with a project and assignment to support in a very targeted fashion by focusing on complete journey. That needs to happen within that job environment. And there are 6 elements that need to work in harmony. And audience can find that one in the document. These are peers, coaches, managers, technologies, subject matter experts, and the job environment itself. These are 6 elements to a speed enabling ecosystem. And speed comes when you play all these elements synchronously together and don't rely too much on training. Your ecosystem, if it is built nicely, will replace the training. And in most cases, training actually pulls people down because training is all content focused. Whereas we're talking about, let's work on the outcome that matter. Let's bring those outcomes consistently at a faster rate. So that's the kind of whole concept of this ecosystem. It's basically kind of making it more structured, I would say.
Yeah, excellent. Now, just to remind people that to get hold of Raman's free gift of that ecosystem, I'm going to be putting the QR code for you to scan. So it's now time to scratch around your handbag, purse, or wallet, whatever it may be, to look for your phone to be able to scan it in. Or you can use the bit.ly URL that I'm putting across the bottom of the screen. Like my guest, I passionately believe that any company wanting to achieve true sustainable success needs to get into the right type of fast gear. And that means across the entire organization. And I think what we've learned most importantly today, that speed is not what you really think it is. You need to do a little bit of thinking and understanding there. My many thanks to guest Dr. Raman K. Attri, author of Speed Matters, for an inspiring interview. Thanks, Raman.
Thank you so much, Malcolm. It has been my pleasure. You asked so many thought-provoking questions, and I would love your audience to connect with me at my website, speedtoproficiency.com or ramankattri.com, where they can actually get started on speed strategies. So do subscribe if you like. Otherwise, you guys can connect with me on any of the social media channels. Search me, the handle Dr. Raman K. Attri on any LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And as you said, I hope that the report we are sharing, the document we're sharing with the audience, they will find some value out of that one.
Yeah,
that will help them bring speed.
Yeah, and I'm going to be speedy here and be getting in quickly. So you are going to come back to tell us about getting there faster, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
I've booked you. You're in. Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, watch out. Coming up now is the QR code from Dr. Raman.